my 7th Link amiibo? Am I obsessed?
Hey Ed, check out your YouTube channel, it finally happened.
Golly gee, what's this? What exactly happened on my YouTube channel?
Just go on with it already, these opening skits are already skippable and unnecessary enough.
Well, I better check it out then. And if it turns out to be a copyright strike, you are so getting neutered. Let's check it. Oh my god! I did it. I reached 200 subs. Hey everybody, and first of all, thank you so much for 200 subscribers. And second of all, how the heck am I gonna celebrate such a milestone? I know! Fine, I'll review the Mario Kart 8 Deluxe Booster Course Pack. Mario Kart, Mario Kart, Mario Kart. This is a franchise you can never go wrong with. From its easy to pick up and hard to master gameplay, to insanely fun multiplayer, you're guaranteed to enjoy at least one in the series. But its 8th installment was something else. The graphics looked great, the item balancing was fair, but still hectic, and even introduced anti-gravity to the series. While it didn't exactly change the gameplay all too much, it opened up the series to much more creative track design, and though it had some little blemishes and the battle mode flat out sucking eggs, this was a really finessed entry to the series. It was on the Wii U. Nintendo's worst performing home console, selling a measly 14 million units, and despite Mario Kart 8's strong sales, not even that could save the troubled platform. And thus, in 2017, Nintendo had a fresh start with the Nintendo Switch, and shortly after it launched, they smartly ported over Mario Kart 8 with slightly more content, including a few more characters like Bowser Jr. and the Inklings from Splatoon, a couple new items, and a completely revamped battle mode that's actually good. Yet surprisingly, back when this came out, I wasn't planning on picking this up, considering that I already had the original game, I was more interested in Mario Odyssey, and didn't think it added enough to justify double dipping unless I got it bundled with the console, or half the price. I got a Nintendo Switch with Mario Kart 8 Deluxe for £300 on April 8, 2018. When I first played it, I loved it. Not only did I enjoy the new additions and got to play the DLC for the first time, but it was really cool that I could take the beefiest Mario Kart experience money can buy whenever and wherever I want. Like, I remember playing it with peers at prom. It's kinda like that dad doesn't want a dog meme. Plus, it held my attention for possibly a new installment on the Switch. But in 2019, Mario Kart Tour launched on mobile devices, which Nintendo put a disconcerting amount of effort into whenever it didn't want to loot your money. But it's a mobile game, so who cares, as we still had an itch for a new Mario Kart on Switch, and that insiders wouldn't shut up about it. Like, it made sense, as Breath of the Wild, a Wii U port got a sequel, Mario Maker got a sequel, Smash got a new game, Splatoon got a new game, and an expansion pack disguised as a new game. With a series as big as Mario Kart, a new installment was kind of inevitable. But 8 Deluxe's high sales numbers and Nintendo's focus on Tour would prove otherwise, as in one Nintendo Direct on February 9th, 2022, the fate of the series' future was sealed.
Paid DLC courses will be coming to Mario Kart 8 Deluxe.
What the hell is this?
The Mario Kart 8 Deluxe Booster Course Pass DLC, try saying that fast 5 times. 48 courses from the series, history, and tour, doubling the base game's track roster, all for less than half the price of a new Switch game, or free with a Switch Online expansion pack. Just buy it to keep forever at that point. While it would have been a lot better if we instead got a new game and can understand the disappointment, that's a pretty good deal and at least gives us something new with Mario Kart, unlike other series installments that refuse to die. Can you tell this video's been made for a while? Not exactly what we had in mind, but hey, it'll suffice. I honestly don't know what's worse, the fact we weren't getting a new Mario Kart anytime soon, or that we got coconut mold in an official Nintendo broadcast. However, I'll go back in time to make people buy a Wii U in case that becomes a success and we get a new game on the Switch. Wish me luck. Man, I'm quite enjoying hunting down these Loki variants. They're at least less of a pain in the ass than a D-Shop fanatic idiot. Say, have you heard of the Wii U? It may have confusing marketing and dour third-party support, but at least has a cool gamepad controller and pull blocks world. Oh, come on! It didn't work. So today, we're gonna be looking at all 48 courses in the past, and not only assess if it's a worthy and justified addition to this nearly decade-old game, holy cow, but also see what tracks earn a spot in the Ed Bartlett's Hall of Fame, and which belong in the torture room. Now, if you excuse me, I'm gonna rewatch the Wave 1 trailer because I got nothing else better to do today. Why did the graphics suddenly blow now? When rewatching the trailer, the visuals looked off. Mario Kart 8 is one of the best looking games Nintendo has ever made, but the new tracks noticeably looked worse, as if they were copy and pasted from Tour, a game made with the limitations of mobile devices in mind. And when put side by side, is a night and day difference. It's like finding out that these two were made by the same studio. And that was just the trailer. Maybe the tracks will look better when they come out, right? Right? Wave 1 of the Booster Course Pass launched on March 18th, 2022, with the Golden Dash Cup and Lucky Cat Cup adding 8 new courses. Kicking off both the Golden Dash Cup and Pass in general, Paris Promenade from Mario Kart Tour, the first city track in the game. A decent start and does a good job combining the multiple track layouts, making every lap layout different, even going in reverse near the end of the final lap. Not to mention, the city looks nice despite the graphical downgrade, and the music's great, so yeah, Paris Promenade's pretty alright. Next is Toad Circuit from Mario Kart 7, and why did they add this track? It's a fine starter track in the context of that game, but that same game had Shy Guy Bazaar, Wario Shipyard, and the Woohoo Island tracks. But instead you went with this uninteresting, uninspired, mind-numbing joke? And as for the presentation, it's hideous! Screw it looking worse than the base game, it looks worse than the 3DS original somehow! The badly rendered textures are enough to make my uni CGI animation look like Pixar, the grass textures make me sick, and the bright colors are enough to make me go blind. Like, did this go for an Instagram filter? This track is horrible! In case you couldn't figure it out, the Toad Circuit is both the worst track in this pass and the entire game, and we barely made it through 2 tracks so far, and that's a great sign. Yeah, I don't like this track, sadly. Choco Mountain from Mario Kart 64. Not the most exciting track of the lot, but is a masterpiece compared to Toad Circuit. It has a neat layout, the music's fun, I like some of the sections now getting a mine tunnel layout, but you can't fall off to an early part of the track anymore. That's what made this track so fun and noteworthy to begin with, especially when playing with friends, suddenly going from first place to last with one wrong move. The track itself is still fine, but far from the definitive version. Coconut Mall from Mario Kart Wii, the leading track of the wave. Now, coming from someone who grew up with Wii and is my personal favorite Mario Kart, saying it's one of the best tracks in the whole series would be an understatement. Taking an absurd idea of turning a mall into a racetrack and surprisingly making it work, with a lively environment, plentiful routes to take, and do I even need to explain why the music's awesome? That was the Wii version. Mario Kart 7, however, is kinda worse. Still fun, but the visuals took a hit on the 3DS, and the mall itself feels desolate enough to be in a Vaporwave video. The Deluxe version at least has nice visual aesthetics, and again is still a blast. But the cars near the end of the track don't move at all, removing a good chunk of the risk and reward with that segment in the prior adaptations. Like, they're just standing there. Menacingly. And also, the elevators yell at you for which direction they're going. Like, don't tell me where to go, you're not the boss of me! And above all, the watered-down graphics aren't really doing this track that much justice. Like, I'm glad it's here, but I can't help but feel it deserved better. Starting off the Lucky Cat Cup, Tokyo Blur Frontier, another city track. Just like Paris Promenade, gives a decent glimpse into how these tracks work in 8 Deluxe with different paths each lap. But its layout is pretty basic to traverse and understand, and the laps feel near identical because of it. Not as bad as Third Circuit, yet it doesn't feel like it was designed by Stanley Kubrick either. I honestly think this and Paris Promenade should have swapped places in their cups. Again, gives a good introduction to how the city tracks work in the game, but that's all I can really say about it. Shroom Ridge from Mario Kart DS, cause why not? That's a random course to bring back. In a similar spirit to Toad's Turnpike from 64, you race around traffic. Slightly more interesting than that course because it has more twists and turns and the music surprisingly goes hard. And what isn't hard is the traffic itself. They go the same direction as you do instead of going opposite directions of each lane like in the original, and if you know what you're doing, removes any and all challenge of this course. Otherwise, much like this wave so far, it's pretty whatever. Sky Garden from Mario Kart Super Circuit. Now I always hear bad things relating to this game's take on the track. I never grew up with Super Circuit, and despite having DS as a kid, never had too many memories playing on that track. And when looking at the course itself in 8 Deluxe, it has a neat layout, use of twists and turns, shortcuts, and 3D elevation, albeit worse than something like Cloud Top Cruise. So I don't really get the hate surrounding this track, and I'm not gonna boycott a Mario Kart track just because the road texture has a different color. Ending Wave 1 in the Lucky Cat Cup, Ninja Hideaway is a brand new course. Even though it was originally in Tort, Nintendo stopped lying to yourselves, you'll hurt somebody. Essentially a giant dojo with a plethora of paths to take, similarly to the city tracks, but within the same general layout, with some help from engaging music and neat presentation by this wave standards to make it further stand out.
What the heck? I like this track?
No, I really like this track. It's a rather unique one in the game where I can still find new ways and strategies of going around it after multiple playthroughs, and one I can see myself going back to alongside most of the base lineup. As a result, it makes each experience feel completely different, giving fantastic replay value. Really glad this wave ended with a bang. Not the greatest start, but not the worst either. While a welcome addition and still decent time spent, it's held back by the graphics and a couple of forgettable, or in Third Circuit's case, straight up bad courses. But something surprising with this batch is that none of these tracks take advantage of anti-gravity. You know, the whole gimmick of Mario Kart 8. Yet one thing they definitely didn't skimp out on is the soundtrack. It's just as great as other, and with my previous criticism, this is the first wave of 6, so I can sort of understand. Hopefully the next wave will be better. In conclusion, the wave itself gives a decent glance at what the past has to offer, the city tracks are a good breath of fresh air, the classic tracks are still classics, but there is room for improvement.
Who knows? Maybe we'll see Wave 2 in the next General Nintendo Direct in June or something.
We didn't get a General Nintendo Direct that June, and we had to wait all the way until August 4th, 2022, when Wave 2 finally launched with the Turnip Cup and Propeller Cup adding 8 new courses. Debuting the Turnip Cup, New York Minute Frontier, another self-explanatory city track from that game, but this time in the Big Apple. There are multiple routes to take, different paths each lap, and as somebody who actually went to New York, it translated what that city had to offer pretty well. Central Park is a nice distraction from that city area, and the lights on the buildings are vivid. Nintendo really did their research with these courses. And despite the track being just as big as Times Square itself, it's another decent city track, and I can't wait to see Donkey Kong the Best Musical. Mario Circuit 3 from Super Mario Kart. I always hear people talk badly about this course with an unappealing presentation and basic layout compared to where the series would go in the future. It was from Super Mario Kart that previous remark could be said about the whole game. With the past adding 48 tracks, of course a SNES Mario Circuit was gonna be here. That's where the whole series started after all. At least in this wave it gets it done and over with for more potentially interesting tracks. Though I personally would have preferred MC2 for the glider segment and its 7 remake alone, Mario Circuit 3 is pretty good, at least by that game's standards, and I wouldn't go as far as to call it a wasted slot. It's a good track for newcomers and still has more interesting course design than turret circuits somehow. And unlike 94% of the internet, I'm gonna respect my elders and say this is far from the best track, but it's still fine enough. Calamari Desert from 64, a staple track in the series, and for good reason. You can wait for the train to pass by! Who needs French when you've got this? In all seriousness, this is a neat track, and the 8 Deluxe version is in another league of its own. For the first lap, it plays like you expect, driving around the train, but halfway through the second lap, much like the Tour City tracks, the layout changes and you drive on the train tracks, even entering the tunnel. Just make sure not to hit the actual train. But in the final lap, it goes back to playing out like normal. This is a great remake future Mario Kart games should take notes on, starting with familiar territory and giving a new spin to it all, catering to both longtime fans and newcomers. It's kinda like the Evangelion rebuilds, not that I think about it. Who knew such a simple change would elevate an already great track and make it that much better? Closing the cup, Waluigi Pinball from DS. Widely considered one of, if not the best track in the entire series, with a very creative premise of driving in a pinball machine. And thankfully this version is no slouch either. It's vividly colorful as ever, the presentation is incredibly charismatic, and it's still just as fun to drive and get knocked around as it ever was. But this is the only track in the entire game to not have a unique song, sharing Wario's Stadium song in the base game. And though some elements from previous versions are gone here, it's still Waluigi Pinball at the end of the day. A surprisingly great track you can never go wrong with, regardless of which game you play it in. Next in line, the Propeller Cup with Sydney Sprint. A city track in Australia, another nice course showcasing the concept. It has a great layout with seamlessly implemented landmarks, the ramps in the middle section are really fun to trick off, the presentation's great, colorful, and brings a lot of life to this area. Plus the music has no right in going so hard, but I'm glad it did anyway. Definitely the best city course so far. Snowland from Super Circuit. The original version of this track back on GBA is quite decent for a snow level in a racing game. The only problem is that the cameraman must have had too much coffee that morning on top of the ice physics and the game already controlling like I just ran over a deer. This version on the other hand is far more manageable and easier to appreciate with a camera that's actually steady. Not to mention it's been translated from the GBA to Switch really well. The music's lovely and jolly, the layout's nice, and the course is quite a pleasant one to play from time to time. Another good track. Mushroom Gorge from Wii. Now this is a track I can play any day of the week. It has a good layout, neat music, and the mushrooms are incredibly fun to bounce off, especially in the cave with multiple routes to take. Should you simply bounce across them all, or take the glider segment. I am so glad they brought this back, and it's just as great here as it was in the prior games. But the third mushroom before entering the cave has been taken out.
Nathan, what?
I guess it made the track flow better, but it just feels naked without it, you know? Still, this is an incredibly fun track to play on, but I kinda miss the third mushroom. Closing off the Cup and Wave, Sky High Sunday. An original track highlighting this wave and for the first time in this entire pass, utilizes anti-gravity. This track's kinda lame. All you do is go around that oval, sometimes pulling off tricks. Sky High Sunday is a glorified loop, more than 9. It's not as hectic as Baby Park, nor as satisfying to pull off tricks as Excite Bike Arena. And excuse me, how are the banisters giving me a boost?
Cause of lack of logic in this track went sky high.
The music can try its hardest, but it's not really making this track as exciting as it sounds. You could tell this was made with Tour's trick and combo system in mind, rather than being a new course. And would you look at that, they tried to warn us. So Sky High Sunday is one of the most tedious and draining experiences I ever put myself through. And I read the B-movie script. It's not the worst track in the past, it's the runner-up. Aside from that wimpy ending, this was a step up from Wave 1, but at the same time is still a far cry from the base game. While I quite like the tracks it had to offer, and in some cases really like them, some problems from Wave 1 are still present. Mainly the lesser visuals feeling like they were directly ripped from Tour, but at least is in the right direction for this expansion. Plus, they even made a few tweaks to the tracks from Wave 1, like making the cars in Coconut Mall finally move again. Still not the same, but it's the thought that counts. And thanks to this, I feel more optimistic about Wave 3, which teased 2 tracks in the September Nintendo Direct shortly afterwards, before releasing on December 7th, 2022, with the Rock Cup and Moon Cup adding 8 new courses, and even added item customization for versus races, making whatever rule set you want. I don't want to meet this guy. Starting off the Rock Cup London Loop from Tour. Firstly, I would have gone with Sulphur Keys for Britain's pick, as thanks to its overabundance of cyclists, it was a perfect fit for Mario Kart. Yet again, a neat city track with multiple routes to take, different layouts every lap, great attention to detail for the city it's based off, coming from someone who lives here in the UK, and it's particularly fun avoiding the chain chomps and tricking off the bridge. Also, I kinda like how the music is more inspired by rock and roll rather than using Rule Britannia for the 700 millionth time, because we did get the role of the Beatles and the Hoot after all. But sadly, it was around this time I kinda stopped caring about these tracks. And it's a shame too, because these tracks are starting to become a lot more ambitious, interesting, and grander in scope. So London Loop is a good time, but undervalued by the oversaturation of city tracks in this pass. Boo Lake from Super Circuit. Yeah, it's not the greatest track in that game, and when playing it, it leaves you asking, where's the lake? And Deluxe rectifies that by not only actually showcasing the lake with a whole underwater section, but even overhauling the course, giving us anti-gravity as well. Nintendo, you didn't have to spoil us like this, but I'm so glad you did. Also, the scenery is moody, perfectly fitting the track's aesthetic, the track is really fun to race on, and just like Switch Link's Awakening, it's a good remake! Probably the best spruce up any track in this DLC received yet. Alpine Pass from 7, or as it's known in the States as Rock Mountain, and I guess it's in this cup for that name alone. It's a high mountain landscape made with the intent of showcasing the glider mechanic introduced in 7. From that perspective, it does a great job letting you soar through the air and allowing you to skip a good chunk of the track near the start.
Hey look, I can fly!
Plus, the bit where you go up the mountain now is anti-gravity. I was just questioning the original game's physics. Despite the tour quality graphics and the course not being anything too remarkable, it's a great showcase for gliding, as that's what it did best in 7, and that's what it does best here. Wrapping up the cup, Maple Treeway from Wii. A good fan favorite from that game, thanks to its autumn theming, nice music, and layout. The graphics here are amazing, perfectly capturing the beauty of this track, and if you told me this was in the base game, I'd probably believe you, proving that Nintendo really did take feedback from Wave 1's graphics to heart. Not to mention, the track is still great to drive around, and we even see half-pipes for the first time in this game. Really fun to trick off if I do say so myself. A huge highlight in this so far great wave. Berlin Byways from Tour, another good city track with an interesting layout with each lap, effective obstacles, and music that slaps harder than it ever needed to. But as I said with London Loop, I started losing interest with these courses. They didn't feel as special anymore since they were more of an inevitability, with this pass existing to preserve pretty much all of Tour's tracks. That's not to say this course reeks or anything, but it's exactly what the doctor ordered with these things. Peach Gardens from DS. Odd one to bring back, but hey, it's a solid time with the great concept of making a race course out to Peach's Castle Garden. But this version is the best take on this track. The visuals are eloquent and lovely, fun to traverse around, and taking a page from Calamari Desert, it plays out like usual for the first 2 laps, and for the final lap, you go in reverse, even having the opportunity to give Topiary Luigi a high five. Another great remake of a staple track with a new twist, future remakes in this series should take notes on. Merry Mountain, a new course highlighting the wave, even though it was already in Tour. Then why did you call it a new track? We're not idiots, Nintendo! A wintry track based off Christmas. It's a pleasant little jaunt going up a tall mountain with colors everywhere and white things in the air, alongside a train throwing out coins to all the good boys and girls racing up the mountain. Except for whoever threw a blue shell at me. Like, wow, Merry Christmas to you, filthy animal. But the music doesn't really give me Christmas vibes, but rather Disneyland adverts on some early 90s Disney VHS tapes, strangely enough. I ought to make a video on those, shouldn't I? Despite the basic layout and that the last stretch of the course could benefit from a couple more boost panels, you're only gonna play this track during the Christmas season, so with that, Merry Mountain fills the Christmas track quota. Pulling the curtains for this cup and wave, Rainbow Road from 7. Really glad this one made the cut, as it's widely agreed upon by fans as the best Rainbow Road in the series, and I certainly don't disagree. The road is beautiful here, the music's fantastic, the track offers a good challenge, creative level design driving on the rings of Saturn, the moon, and a tube. And unlike most tracks here, it's all in one big lap with 3 segments. You feel like you're on an adventure with this track, and this version still retains that sense of magic and whimsy. Honestly, this ended the wave with a huge bang and is probably the best course so far. I am not kidding. Now this was pretty great. Wave 3 was a visual indicator for how much this pass has picked up from the start. The track selection improved significantly, we got some nice unexpected surprises we're still glad we got anyway, and the graphics are finally close to being on par with the base game. And in some cases, they are. Though it's still not 100% as good as the base game and that the city tracks started losing their thunder around this point, the Booster Course Pass is now starting to become a no-brainer to pick up and a nice substitute to a new game. Yet despite it all, there is still an itch these courses can't scratch.
Well, we're at the halfway point of the pass, and now I feel like rewarding myself for getting this far with a good old pack of Animal Crossing amiibo cards. Ew.
The holidays came and went, and in the general February Nintendo Direct earlier this year, we got a sneak preview of Wave 4 with the new Yoshi's Island course.
Huh, that looks cute.
Birdo, who originally hit the track in Mario Kart Double Dash, is also being added to Wave 4.
Yes! We're finally getting new characters from past titles added to the game! When looking at the base roster, even with the additions for Deluxe and mainstays you'd expect in a Mario Kart game, the piss stains on the selection screen are hard to overlook. Featuring the likes of Tanuki Mario, Cat Peach. The Koopalings, while a genius idea on paper, ends up taking a whole row of the roster, and the more I look at the amount of baby characters there are in the game, the more I understand why Anakin killed those younglings. And who could possibly forget Pingo Peach? Ah yes, everyone's favorite. So the roster definitely had room for improvement, and honestly kept the game from topping Wii as my favorites in the series. And Birdo herself was a good choice to bring back first with her rise in game appearances, and use of course given that she and Yoshi have been a thing longer than I've existed.
And you know what that means, buddy? You and Funky can finally be in the game like you should have been back in 2014!
Ah, that'd be swell! And also, why the hell did Villager Girl take my slot? Wave 4, the Booster Course Pass, released on March 9th, 2023, with the Fruit Cup and Boomerang Cup adding 8 new courses and a brand new character. Starting the Fruit Cup, Amsterdam Drift from Tor. Yet another city track with different routes every lap, obstacles revolving around the city it's based off, a decent enough underwater segment. It's just another nothing too special city track. It's amazing, I managed to get 13 minutes out of DVD packaging, yet I could barely squeeze out 15 seconds talking about Amsterdam Drift. Like, what else do you want me to say here? Riverside Park from Super Circuit. Let me ask the developers, why does this track look so good, like it could be in the base game for all I care? It's still a neat laid-back track to race around with the Patuis carrying items, serving as nice risk and reward obstacles, but the massive graphical overhaul really brings this track to life. Like, how are these the same course? So Riverside Park is still solid all around and is probably the best looking track in the past as of yet. And also, when capturing gameplay footage, I noticed Yoshi right next to Birdo. Like, what do you reckon is going on between them? Do you think they're going at it between each other like a deer and cat? And which Yoshi do you reckon Birdo would prefer riding on?
Knock it off, Lovebirds, and let us review DK Snowboard Cross!
Thank you, Lakitu. I really got distracted there. DK Snowboard Cross from Wii, aka DK Summit. An incredibly fun track to play on back in Wii, and is just as fun as ever here. The cannon that launches you to the top of the start feels exciting and cinematic, the half-pipes are so much fun to trick off, as with the bumps, the layout serves a good challenge, feeling extremely satisfying to traverse, plus the KK Slider cameo and the music is still intact here. What else can I say, but I love playing on this track just as much as these two love each other. Ending the cup, Yoshi's Island, a brand new course highlighting this wave. A really delightful and well-made course, bringing in everything that made Yoshi's Island such a beloved title, at least before it gave you a reason to get a vasectomy. In fact, they even go as far as to treat it like a crossover track like the F-Zero, Zelda, and Animal Crossing courses in the base game, with the sound effects, race start jingle, and result screen having the stage clear song from the SNES game. They didn't need to do that. On top of having an excellent layout on ground, water, sky, and even a secret shortcut near the end of the lap, with attention to detail that's scarier than every horror movie I've ever seen. Another excellent addition to this pass, and I'd be shocked if this doesn't show up in the top 5 at the end of this. Beginning the Boomerang Cup, Bangkok Rush Run Tour. Oh great, another city track, but probably one of the better courses if you ask me. The music's great, there are multiple routes to take, the stands are fun to bounce and trick off, and has a unique and fleshed out layout, truly making every lap feel different. I also like the aesthetic to it too. Doesn't help that it's a city track though. Mario Circuit from DS. Surprising choice since we thought Airship Fortress was a shoo-in. Wildcard pick aside, it's one of the more interesting circuit tracks. It has a neat layout for twists and turns, there's a giant wiggler on the roads in the last lap, and the remix music going harder than you could ever expect it to. While Airship Fortress and Boston Building would have been cooler choices.
Hey, don't you mean Luigi's Mansion? Zoe Mama! You've been watching one too many of Schaefer's ranking videos, haven't you?
This is still a nice, enjoyable circuit track. Waluigi Stadium for Mario Kart Double Dash. It's about damn time we got a Double Dash track, and what a great place to start. Already a fun track in that game, and with Wii introducing the trick and half-pipe system, was made even better. And in 8 Deluxe, it just keeps topping itself. It's got everything great about the 2 variations here, we got some new anti-gravity routes to take, the music is surprisingly energetic, and the graphics are outstanding by this DLC standards. Yeah, I may have bumped into some tires and wooden plants, but I'm having too much of a ball with myself, I honestly don't care. It's just as fun as writing a bad review for a movie that you hate. So glad Nintendo didn't forget Double Dash here, and a strong choice as well. Closing out the Cup and Wave, Singapore Speedway from Tour. Yet another city track! With a sprawling multitude of locations, nice visuals, banger music, and vastly different layouts with each lap, Singapore Speedway is gorgeous and well laid out. Like, I may not see myself playing it as much as other tracks here, but as these courses go, it stands out above the rest, and may be the best of all the city tracks. Really shows how far these have come since Paris Promenades and Tokyo Blur a year prior. This is the best wave yet. Pretty much all of these tracks were runs I loved, or at worst, still thought were pretty good. It's amazing how much this pass has been topping itself each wave. DK Snowboard Cross, Yoshi's Island, and Waluigi Stadium alone are dominating the top 5 of the pass so far. And thanks to brand new characters being thrown into the mix, makes this already good deal that more enticing, and I can't wait to see what they have in store for Wave 5. Which funnily enough was teased in this year's General June Nintendo Direct, with a new bathroom stage and a squeaky clean sprint, and 3 brand new characters with PG Piranha returning from Double Dash, we kinda knew he was gonna be a shoo-in with this pass. Wiggler okay and out to left field pick from 7, but is Keanu Reeves compared to half of the base roster, and Kamek from Tor, who originally was gonna be in Mario Kart 64 but got replaced by Donkey Kong. He didn't make it to the base version of 8 despite having his emblem found in the files, then being added to Tor, and now here in an actual Mario Kart. Having a prominent role in a recent major animated movie will do that to you. Really satisfying confirmation after all of these years. But because the new column with Birdo added 5 more empty slots, with 3 just taken and knowing how unpredictable Nintendo are, it had me worried that Diddy and Funky weren't gonna make it, and instead got replaced by the likes of Pauline, and God forbid Dr. Bowser.
I'd give anything to see Diddy and Funky come back in this game.
Anything you say!
Everybody, meet Dennis. He goes around making deals to give you all your desires at a price. This guy feeds off your hopes and dreams.
So you want your monkeys back in your stupid kart racing game, eh?
Yes. Alright, to make this a reality, you'll first have to sign this contract. Okay, give me a minute to actually read this and... There is no way in hell I'm setting up a TikTok account.
Then you'll have to review Frozen 2.
No.
Play Modern Warfare 3.
Fat chance.
See Scotty for Girls live.
Screw you.
Tricky pie, eh? I'll tell you what, you can get your damn 38th, but the next read will be noticeably worse than the last 2. Koopa capable of country music during its middle section for absolutely no reason. And I'll also throw in a character that nobody likes. On top of some other terms and conditions. Do we have a deal?
Alright, fine. Take this contract and shove it up where the sun don't shine.
Pleasure doing business with you, chum.
And that, kids, is why you shouldn't talk to random strangers in the alleyway. And one thing I do like about all of this is that I at least didn't get a nasty surprise as a result. Son of a gun!
Wave 5 of the pass launched on July 12th, 2023, with the Feather Cup and Double Cherry Cup adding 8 new courses and 3 new characters. We're playing in the Mercedes-Benz cars this time. Starting the Feather Cup, Athens Dash from Tour. A city track following up from another one. Do I need to call Pest Control? Thankfully, the course is more focused around the countryside rather than the cityscape per se. It's a good breath of fresh air, but it wasn't optimized for a Deluxe very well, mainly due to Athens Dash being a far more claustrophobic feeling course, as the half-pipes, while still really fun, make it too fast to react to upcoming obstacles, on top of the likelihood of bumping into pillars and walls, making it feel like the god of wine racing on this course, especially if it's at 200cc. So Athens Dash is a decent enough distraction from other city tracks, but at what cost? Daisy Cruiser from Double Dash, another great choice from that game. What a fun and creative track driving around a cruise ship, taking one of 2 routes at the start of each lap, tricking in the pool, the tables moving around in the dining hall, and even having the opportunity to go underwater in the brig.
Really glad the spectators there aren't drowning.
It's just a nice fun track, and the violins help add to the already great soundtrack. Though I sort of missed the break sending me to the stratosphere and bumpers near the end of the original, it's still a pleasant and clever course, and for all our sakes, please don't let this guy go anywhere near it. Moonview Highway from Wii. After the city track's overabundance of the land before time proportions, it's safe to say that we wouldn't see it in the past. But it is, and I'm glad it made the cut. And not only is it better and more interesting than the Tour City tracks, it's even better than Toad's Turnpike and Shroom Ridge, where you start off in a more landscape-like scenery and cut to a city highway. Not to mention, it looks visually striking, serves a good challenge with the narrow first half, randomly placed boost panels in the city section, and let the cars drive in opposite directions this time! So this is a track I never thought would return, but I'm really grateful it did. R.I.P. Pikmin font on one of the billboards, though. Wrapping up the cup, Squeaky Clean Sprint. A new track highlighting the wave. An unexpected concept of a racecourse in a bathroom that surprisingly works. Like, the presentation looks great, giving strong grip and road vibes with loads of Easter eggs, multiple routes to take, clever use of bathroom utensils as parts of the track design and obstacles. Hold on, what's the mushroom doing in this bathroom? Is there mold growing in here? And music that goes incredibly hard, reminding me a lot of Family Guy. At least before that show went down the drain. Like, geez, Nintendo, this is a bathroom track. You didn't have to go all out for it, and yet, I thank you for it. So squeaky clean sprint is another highlight of the pass.
Hello, and welcome back to What Are You Talking About? The only quiz show in television where we ultimately learn nothing. Now for our next question. What kicks off the Double Cherry Cup in Mario Kart 8 Deluxe? Is it A, a lawnmower, B, a Star Wars spin-off nobody wanted, or C, another f***ing city track?
It's another f***ing city track! Los Angeles Laps for Tour!
But this one's unique, I swear!
Unlike the rest of the tracks, this is one big lap with 3 sections, like 3DS Rainbow Road earlier. Another breath of fresh air for these courses, and despite some questionable landmark choices, the spectators being uncomfortably bigger than the racers, and the baseball stadium providing an omen that the next Mario baseball game will launch unfinished, this is one of the more interesting city tracks in this pass. I never said it was great though. Sunset Wildsprint Super Circuit, a nice western themed track from that game with a decent layout, obstacles, and with each lap, the sun goes down making for a nice visual effect and further makes this track feel that more special. 8 Deluxe still retains a solid track layout and a couple of bumps to trick off, and when we get to the final lap, the sun doesn't even set. In Sunset Wild. Look, the Switch made the specs of a 70s calculator powered by a Galapagos tortoise. But this is ridiculous. Like, how is this real-life effect put in a GBA game all of a sudden so hard to implement on an HD console? The sole thing that made this track so noteworthy in the first place, gone forever. Like, it's still a fine track at the end of the day.
Laugh.
But it lost its identity in the transition. Koopa Cape from Wii. Man, us Wii fans keep on winning, don't we? A neat little track with 3 cool segments. The start is reasonable enough, the second where you go down a river, pretty exciting stuff, and an underwater segment in a tube like in some aquariums, and electric fans that can shrink you, alongside the flowing water making it faster. Pretty exciting track all things considered. But much like Coconut Mole, it kinda got worse with each revised version. 7 made the underwater segment less exciting and removed the electric fans in favor of cheap cheeps that nut you. 8 Deluxe kind of fixed that by making it anti-gravity and also gave us a half-pipe. An expense for making the music worse. Like, who thought it was a good idea to get the middle section country music? I thought this is Koopa Cape, not the Country Bear Jamboree. It's like putting circus music over the day after tomorrow. Glad it made the cut, but the original is so much better. Pulling a close to the cup and wave, Vancouver Velocity from Tour. Once again, a city track.
These tracks are gonna be the death of me.
Surprising to see this one so soon, especially when it released in the summer. You'd think it would be more suited for Wave 6. But regardless, this is another city track I kinda like. The nighttime visuals look great, the music slaps, nice varied layout, and is the first and only city track to use anti-gravity, not counting the half-pipes. Alright, a solid end to the wave. What happened here? Yeah, it's still better than the first 2 waves, but when compared to 3 and 4, the step-downs are more noticeable. While I did quite like the new character additions, Daisy Cruiser, Moonview Highway, and Squeaky Clean Sprint, the expected city tracks and nerfed Sunset Wilds and Koopa Cape got here really hold it back from the prior waves for me. But I will say this. I can now at least play as Wiggler, riding a Wiggler, hanging out with giant Wigglers in Maple Treeway. Like, what even is this game anymore? Wave 6 was later teased in the general September Nintendo Direct not too long ago, showcasing Daisy's Circuit from Wii. Did not expect to see it here, but at least it's lovely to look at. We also got Diddy Kong for Double Dash and Funky Kong from Wii, I'm still relieved right now. Pauline from Tour after increase in popularity from Odyssey made total sense. And Peach Ad also from Tour. A character whose mere existence is to be in easy mode for a worse port of a game that was never amazing to begin with. But at least the Kongs are back.
Damn. I was counting on Emerald Chrome Luigi. Get out of my house! Fine.
So, with the announcement out of the way, we're in the end game now, fellas. The 6th and final wave of the Mario Kart 8 Deluxe Booster Course Pass launched on November 9th, 2023, with the Acorn Cup and Spiny Cup adding 8 new courses, a music player of all things, I mean, I'm not complaining, 4 new characters, and 17 Mii costumes. And they did it. 8 Deluxe finally topped Wii as my favorite Mario Kart. Starting off the Acorn Cup, Rome Avanti Frontor. Did you guess that it was a city track? Cause would you know it is. One of the more visually striking city tracks thanks to its nighttime scenery, and I also quite like the music. But since it's yet another city track, it's not really all that special layout wise. But at least the change hops in the Coliseum make for good jump scare material.
Was that the bite of 80?
It's fine, but expected long before this wave came out, and I honestly have nothing else to say about these tracks. DK Mountain from Double Dash. They really cherry-picked some of the best tracks from that game into the past, didn't they? And as you can tell, I quite like this track. It is part of my middle name after all. But first things first, the graphics look great here. Like, check out the grass textures. They've come a long way from Wave 1. Similar concept to DK Snowboard Cross in Wave 4, where you get shot to the top of the mountain and race down to where you started. Though you may think this pick is redundant because of the other and in some ways more fun substitute, it still stands out despite that. It's exciting getting launched to the top, taking sharp turns, avoiding the boulders, tricking off the half-pipes and wobbly bridge. It's a barrel blast of a track. I should move on to the next course, and I still stand by that pun. Daisy Circuit from Wii, a weird highlight for the wave if I say so myself. While not the most complex track in the game and can see why some find it boring, what makes this track stand out is the presentation. It already looked nice in Wii, but it looks gorgeous in HD. The music's fantastic, it's fun going around the boost panels near the end, and the statues of Luigi and Daisy are unbelievably cute and charming. But you can't ruin them with your Miis anymore, that's a shame. Nice simple track further showcasing why Daisy's far better than Peach, but is only truly elevated by the visuals and music. Finishing the cup, Piranha Plant Cove, a new track even though it was already in tour. For God's sakes, Nintendo, you're gonna poke someone's eye out at this rate. In a similar function to the city tracks, you go through different layouts with each lap on the same course. It's a great breath of fresh air from the city tracks, effective use of racing underwater, multiple places to trick off, giving a good amount of replay value, and the visuals look astonishing. Really glad these tracks are finally living up to the base game now. What a way to end this cup. Now starting the final cup, the Spiny Cup, a Dread Drive from Tour. The final city track in both Tour and the whole pass. Let's get this one out of the way quick. The visuals are pretty good, the music's awesome, and the track has great variety with the set pieces like a museum, plaza with a giant wiggler, and football stadium, really making each lap feel that more distinct. So yeah, it's a good conclusion to this set of tracks. Rosalina's Ice Road from 7, I thought you were done! Especially with how good its Rainbow Road was, and data mine suggesting otherwise. This is far from that game's best track, and here, not much has changed. The music's great, the visuals are pretty, especially the sky which you barely see throughout the course, the penguins on the ice serve as good obstacles, and the galaxy references are pretty neat. But other than that, it's okay to race on, and since when did Rosalina suddenly own an icy planet? I should really stop questioning the same franchise where Mario owns a castle. Again, it's a functional course. Piranha Plant Pipeline died for this. Bowser's Castle 3 from Super Mario Kart. It astounds me this game didn't get another Bowser's Castle until now, and boy did they go all out with this one. Ever since the Tour version was released, we all knew this is going to be an 8 Deluxe, and holy cow this is a good track. How was this for a Super Nintendo game? It transitioned into 3D flawlessly while still having the same layout, serves a great challenge, the music is engaging yet just as intimidating, complementing Bowser, the walls are fun to go up, and the anti-gravity section really brings this course to life. Really glad you got another Bowser's Castle in the game, and one hell of a pick at that. Finishing the cup, wave, and entire pass in general, Rainbow Road for Mario Kart Wii. Let's face it, we all knew the pass was gonna end with this track. Wii was already the Dark Souls of kart racers, and its take on Rainbow Road is brutal, putting everything you learned in that game to the test, and maybe the sole reason for why the two words Rainbow and Road put together are enough to give people war flashbacks. But it's satisfying when you make it through. So how is it here? Just as tough and really satisfying to traverse. No hand-holding rails, plenty of shortcuts, excellent music, the star bits from Galaxy are still around the place, and just 3 laps this time. They even had the full animation! Though the first few seconds can feel a bit slow, I'm practically nitpicking at this point. So Wii Rainbow Road is a perfect challenge and swan song to end both the whole pass and Mario Kart 8 Deluxe in general. That's it! The booster course pass is done. And what a way to end. Despite the city tracks being city tracks and Rosalina's Ice World being a course we all know and... No. We left with some true greats like DK Mountain, Piranha Plant Cove, Bowser's Castle 3, and of course Wii Rainbow Road. As well as some amazing character picks like Pauline, who deserved a spot in the roster, is a great distraction from the princess characters, and I really like how she sings Best of Jump Up Superstar in the races. And Diddy and Funky Kong, who I'm incredibly happy to see come back after all these years. Please never leave this series again. Nintendo Life, what's wrong with you? And we also have Peach Judge, who sounds just as enthusiastic to be in the game as I am.
Alright!
And the music player and bonus Mii costumes that give you special trick animations are also cool additions. And the fact this DLC got its own credits really hit home for me looking back at the journey. And well, here we are, with 96 tracks, a roster that I now feel happy with after all these years, and then some. Not only does this game dethrone Wii as my favorite Mario Kart, but it may be my favorite racing game ever made, and even one of my favorite games in general. And now, there is one last thing left for me to do. Rank every track I covered here from worst to best. Turd Circuit, Sky High Sundae, Tokyo Blur, Sunset Wilds, Paris Promenade, New York Minute, Choco Mountain, Shroom Ridge, Amsterdam Drift, Mario Circuit 3, Sky Garden, Rosalina's Ice World, Athens Dash, Berlin Byways, Alpine Pass, Koopa Cape, Rome Avanti, Los Angeles Laps, Merry Mountain, Bangkok Rush, Coconut Mall, Mario Circuit, Sydney Sprint, Daisy Circuit, Riverside Park, London Loop, Madrid Drive, Vancouver Velocity, Snowland, Boo Lake, Singapore Speedway, Moonview Highway, Mushroom Gorge, Ninja Hideaway, Daisy Cruiser, Peach Gardens, Calamari Desert, Waluigi Stadium, Maple Treeway, DK Mountain, Bowser's Castle 3, Piranha Plant Cove, Squeaky Clean Sprint, Yoshi's Island, DK Snowboard Cross, Waluigi Pinball, Wii Rainbow Road, and 3DS Rainbow Road.
And that was the DLC. So, what did we get out of all of this? No new game, a crap ton of city tracks that could live without ever seeing again, unfitting country music in Koopa Cape, a cow costume, Rosalina's Ice World, and a character with less popularity than a CEO of a multi-billion-dollar corporation. Happy 200 subs! In conclusion, the Booster Course Pass adds a lot of value to this already stacked game, and while I do wish some tracks got in instead of others and would have preferred a new game in the series and have been ready for one for so long, I'm grateful this even exists at all, and has enough to keep me invested until the next mainline Mario Kart finally comes out, and the fact it has most of Tour's tracks is a massive win for video game preservation, since that game's servers won't stay up forever. Plus, it's been quite a ride to see how much the pass improved itself with each wave after a rocky start, showing that Nintendo took our feedback into heart and implemented that into future content, making them feel that more special. And alongside Super Smash Bros. Ultimate's Fighters Pass, Animal Crossing New Horizons Happy Home Paradise, and Xenoblade Chronicles 2 and 3's expansions, it goes to show that Nintendo truly are the masters of DLC expansions, unless it's Pokemon. And if there's one thing we learned throughout this whole thing, I really need to get a girlfriend.
You!
What do you want now, Walter?
How did you know my name?
Look, if this was because of the eShop incident, that was months ago, and when I discussed the history of rotoscoping, I didn't talk to the Fleischers.
Yeah, but you also bugged the poor Merlin wizard and everyone in 2014 on what the Wii U was. This wasn't part of our deal, Anomaly.
When are you gonna stop calling me that?
And don't forget about me, Mario!
How are you not dead?
I had an extra guy! You know it's rude to send people to the nth dimension and then shoot them in the head after escaping it!
I had to, you were annoying!
Hey, it's called British charm!
There is a difference. And besides, why are you all suddenly after me?
Let's just say a certain dealer in a wolf mask spilled the beans for us.
Dennis!
Why, I could be going out catching Loki variants right now. But no. I'm stuck babysitting this rotoscoping and Wii U-obsessed jackass! And because of what you did, the whole world's now enslaved by sentient fax machines.
I knew something was off when I went into CEX earlier. Like, seriously, how could this day possibly get any weirder?
Another slave to build our monument. Honoring the great racetrack named after frogs.
What? Tart Circuit?
You dare make insulting quips of our lord? Seize him! Gladly. I'm gonna enjoy killing you! Woohoo!
The things I do to get Diddy and Funky Kong back. I'm sure there's a way we can sort this out without somebody getting killed. Ah, Mario Kart! Yeah, Mario Kart! We can all play around. I promise I won't pick Rainbow Road. Have you picked up the Booster Course Pass? And if you did, what do you think of it? Let me know down below. And as always, thanks for watching. I'm sure we can sort this out without somebody getting killed. We can talk this out. Wait! Hey everybody, and ho ho, how is it that time of year again? Now if you made it this far into the video, I have to tip my hat to you, cause boy did this video make me want to drink. Now I just wanted to express my gratitude to all of you throughout this year. I didn't think I was gonna make just more than 100 subs in 2023, let alone 200. Words cannot express how grateful I am to have viewers like you. And my videos this year just skyrocketed in popularity. Like, I never dreamed these views would be that high. As well as with the reception to my graduation project, The History of Rotoscoping. Thank you all so much again. Now this year's been pretty stacked. The pandemic is finally over, Nintendo had a great output of games and a movie this year, I finished my animation degree, just started a master's in digital video production and marketing, and just recently finished my first trimester. It was fun rewatching classic Disney movies for my videos, and the company's otherwise lackluster centennial. I further ruined my financial stability with my Animal Crossing amiibo cards addiction, and even began watching One Piece earlier this year. Pray for me! Next year once again looks promising, with a potential successor to the Switch, which may or may not be on the way. LEGO Animal Crossing that looks cool. Please make KK, Bam, Scooty, Oni, and Francine minifigures, that's all I'm asking for, LEGO. Being able to play Paper Mario the 1000-Year Door without skipping a month's rent. Hopefully Donkey Kong 64 and Smash 64 getting added to NSO. How this hasn't happened yet with the DK Rat being in the Mario movie is beyond me. The Sora amiibo, which I barely survived pre-ordering. Little to no MCU content next year, and general movies and television now that I think about it. And spending $60 on a Luigi's Mansion 2 portable games, which looks like it was put through an emulator, and you can already get elsewhere for 3 times less the price. Jesus, is Skyward Sword HD all over again. And of course I have plenty of videos in the pipeline for next year. In fact, when recording, I just literally finished watching The Black Cauldron for my Disney Bronze Age retrospective in the new year, on top of decent progress with the script, so keep an eye out. So with that, happy holidays, let's look forward to next year, and thank you all so much for watching my content throughout an amazing 2023. I'll see you all in 2024.